Morning. Welcome to Monday Pep. This is where we get to press restart and get to start our week. And we try to put everything together. But I like to look at it as we get a nice start. Sometimes we have to be brand new but consistent. So I thank you guys. I know last Monday, I wasn't here. I was at a conference in Colorado, and it was a secular restart. I got a chance to listen to a lot of professionals that have been very successful. And it's just nice because it's some information to encourage you, especially when you find yourself. I think people might say we might feel we might be in what they call a bear market where it always seems like things are a little bit more difficult than when it needs to be or when it was before. So sometimes you just have to get reset, find a way to make sure that you're being as efficient as possible. And a lot of times, one of the things that when you're trying to accomplish things, you're looking for a balance. So one of the things that I was took from it, that the person who is the CEO of this particular company that is very successful, he is called the Alliance. And Mr. Andy Albright mentioned a book, a reference to a book that I found very interesting. And he put on the screen these 4 quadrants, right? And the book was from, and I've read a book, this author before, but I never came across this particular book. But I think he makes reference in the book that I read, and that's Mr. Stephen Covey. And he is the author of the book of The 7 Highly Effective Habits of Successful People, something like that. And I do think this was mentioned, so I'm going to review that book when I get some time. But right away, I went searching for this book, and it's called First Things First. First Things First. And it's a look at time management, but not in the traditional sense. Because what happened is, there's one point that stuck out. He says that you have the clock and the compass. And when those two, when we can start to feel overwhelmed when these two don't seem to connect. And I started thinking about that. So sometimes we can become so overwhelmed with things that we have to do that we can lose our direction. We can lose our direction. And then it was saying where you are in your life. So they divided it in these 4 quadrants, right? So one is, so you have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and Q1 is, and I divided it in my book because so now as I look at my day and my week, I got to figure out which quadrant I'm in. So Q1 is important and urgent. It's urgent and it's important. So it pretty much is getting all of your attention, right? So I divided my little workbook here that I'm going to check on my activities. Urgent, but important. But Q2 is important, not urgent. Q3 it's important. I gotta remember. Where is it? Anyone remembers what?
Not urgent.
What was it? Q3?
Important but not urgent.
Important but not urgent.
And then the 4th one is not important and not urgent.
It's not important and not urgent. Thank you, Olan. Awesome. So the thing is, Q1 and Q2 is important and urgent. But Q2 is where if we can manage the important things, if we can manage, what he brought out is that if you're in Q2, you're going to be very productive and very successful. So I started really thinking about that. And I know that it depends on where you are or certain industries. It might always feel like we in Q1. And the problem is with Q1 and Q3, most people may find themselves in this quadrant. And this is a very highly stressful situation to be in. And it can also, you could be addicted to the sense of urgency. That's the adrenaline, right? And I always say, sometimes I do my best work when my deadline is like, when I'm approaching the deadline. but yet that throughout your life that can take a toll on you. So then I started readjusting things because it says Q3 is when you get the phone calls, when you get the things. It's important, but it may not necessarily be important to your goals, but it's important, right? But Q1 is maybe things that you didn't handle maybe in Q2 that led to that, or it's the emergencies that happen. Maybe something happened to a person's children. Death don't care. Death pops up. All of a sudden, death takes your attention. Someone in your family, a loved one, or your friends pass away. And then I'm like, okay. And then sometimes my job starts, some things that I do starts off in Q2, but if certain things don't meet, and then the deadline, we start to lose time. Now that same thing that would have been accomplished in Q2, now it's moved to Q3. And that's when I realized it can be most stressful. So I had to identify what are the things for me to be successful that's important but not urgent. Because the more time we spend in Q2, like this is an urgent one, but I gotta I gotta get back to this person. Uh, that's my Q3. Now my situation is a Q3 and it's taking up all my energy and my time. Anyway, going back to that. So Q2 is where we build our relationships, where we do the things that's important so we won't get to Q2. Now it might sound confusing, but I get it. Sometimes you got to do those things that the mundane things, right? You got to master the mundane, right? But it's necessary. And the reason why a lot of times we put those things off is because it's not urgent. But if we don't handle those things, then they will become urgent. Then we find ourselves living in a life full of stress. Anyone, does that make any sense to anybody? What was your take on it?
Yeah, I have related to one of them because it said when you're under stress, you kind of throw the burden on the back burner and you start doing something that's unimportant. So I found myself in one of those positions. Either I'll play a video game or I'll just start focusing on something else because I'm like, I don't have the energy to deal with this right now. I definitely related to that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, but it's important and it's stressful, but you can't deal with it right. That's like you don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. One of the points he brought out in the book is that you could spend so much time in Q1 and Q3 that you're so burned out that you will find yourself lingering in Q4. Q4 is like binge watching maybe TV, things that's not important or not urgent, but we find relief in that because we're doing nothing. We think that's where we have to go because we're not feeling refreshed. We're feeling torn and we feel like we're feeling guilty because we know that we probably should be getting more things accomplished. And that's what the clock stands for, like our things that we put on our to-do list. And because we are not getting those things done, we feel confused. And the compass, it really stands for our values, our qualities. And one of the words that he uses, direction. You know, if you're not being true to your values, you could start to feel really, really confused. And then you could feel exhausted and it can take your joy away. Yolanda, any points that you appreciated?
Well, I didn't actually read that book, specifically the one you're referring to, but I knew about the four Q that you mentioning because of the book I read last night from the app I was mentioning. So it was the seven steps, 7 ways. You just mentioned it. Effective people or something like
Highly
that.
effective people.
Yeah,
Stephen, from the same author,
I think so because it talks
Stephen
about the
Covey.
4 Qs. Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Yeah. Stephen Covey.
So yeah, I think that was a nice point too. And it kind of helps to categorize our goals basically, you know, to find out where we want to be and what we need to focus on. Because it's easy to go what we don't want. It's to go from Q1, which is like urgent and important and urgent, and we just jump from that to Q4, where all of a sudden it's not important, it's not urgent when it should be, so that's something I need to focus on myself too, because sometimes we just don't want to deal with it, and we look for the easiest thing to do. Whether it's like, and if you start grabbing your phone, you're gonna get stuck on that, and you can't find your way back to the task that we have to do. So it's good to keep in mind.
Awesome. And one of the points he brought out is that we can we could get distracted and we could fool ourselves because we feel like we're busy. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm so busy, but are we productive? Are we productive? And Q1 and Q3 can disguise it as if you're so busy, but why are you not getting things done that is important for you to accomplish the goals that you need? Because it can disguise, especially in Q3, because this is where we have to balance. We get pulled in supporting everybody else's idea, right? And everybody else was important to them, and that's fine. But the balance is we gotta be focused, and that's where sometimes we have to learn how to say no, because Q3 may be important, but it may not be important for us. And if we linger in Q3 so much, then we find this is where the discontentment in our life become, because now we're gonna feel exhausted. We're trying to be there for everybody else, and we're not handling what's important in Q2. But if we spend our time mostly in Q2, then we can have time, because part of Q2 is building relationships and network with people, doing things that's necessary, building that relationship. So that's important. But we have to take care of Q2 first, or spend the majority of our time in that in order to be productive, because then we're not going to be any good. You running around and taking care of everybody else, and you are not taking care of yourself. And part of being in that quadrant is your spirit. It speaks about your spirituality. Those things are very important. It talks about yourself, your health. Like I was preparing. I have so much. I really am in Q3 mode today. Certain things are urgent for me and for my clients, and I was getting ready to just jump to it, and I said, nope, wait a minute, I got to do my Q2. So I had to do my reflection and read, something spiritual this morning. And I also went and took a walk and get my mile in, because that is important for me to deal with the Q3, the Q3 that I'm going to be in probably most part of the day. Certain things that beyond my control is just the nature of the business, but it gave me a peace of mind. So that's one of the things we have to do. So the whole week, once I read this book, the whole thing, it's a short read, but it's important. I kept saying, okay, where activity am I? I did spend a little bit of time over the weekend in Q4, because I wanted to just look at some little TV just to break the monotony of work and stuff. And I was like, okay, but I was aware of it. I was conscious. I was like, I'm in Q4. I'm just looking at something. I'm just like something to take my mind off. But I knew it, and I realized I wasn't going to spend too much time in that. And then over the week, so now I'm looking at things like, okay, is this a Q1? Is this a Q2? Or is this a Q3? Right? So I really feel like that's going to help complete the things that I need to accomplish. So anyone got any concluding comments? I know this is Monday and everyone got to get started and get their day going.
Well, I'm getting to, I was understanding what you were saying about the quadrants, but it's definitely relatable, because I know I had started some things on Friday, and I knew what I had to do. So I'm going to get to it today. So I'm going to, start doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But I've been doing it, but it's like it's moving slowly. Like you said, those little breaks we take. Sometimes for me, sometimes they become a little too long. But I'm realizing what I'm doing. So I'm gonna, the business, that's all I can say right now. Please don't show me on YouTube.
Very good. That's awesome. This all about self-awareness and knowing and being honest and like, okay, and that's why spending time alone is very important. I'm gonna put time with yourself in Q2 because you got to reflect like, okay, this is that's why I like Mondays, because I get to reset. Really, actually, Sunday evenings, I've started to reflect and think about my week. Okay. And then, but if the problem is, if we're spending so much time in Q1 and Q3, we won't have time to reflect. It keeps us like, just because we're busy doesn't mean we're always productive. And we do need to spend time so we can have a reflection of ourselves and see where we go. And it's okay, be in the present to know where you are so you can just improve and have a better quality of life. So you recognize that, that's great. That's what growth is. That's what maturity is. So I'm feeling, but now I'm more of aware, like I'm looking at it differently, where I'm at. Because if you're not careful, if you don't have your compass right, if you don't know what direction you want to go, everything else and everybody else will pull you into their Q3 or their Q2. And it's okay if we can afford to give it, but there's a balance and you got to be aware of that. And that's why the word no is important, because you can't always give what you don't have. And a lot of times you start feeling, you start feeling like, you can start resenting, and you don't want to operate that. You want to operate from abundance, right? You want to be able to give, but you have to be able to have that balance in your life. Okay, Yolanda, do you have any closing comments?
Oh, I mean, you pretty much covered it. I just basically try to keep ourselves balanced and always remember where we are and where we need to be when it comes to our tasks. So, yeah.
Thank you. Well, guys, listen, I wish you well. I know you guys are working on your businesses. You're doing well. You're progressing. And I know you've been spending a lot of time in Q2 because you wouldn't have accomplished the things you've accomplished already. So we just want to continue. Also, we have, in the month of May, we have some activities for those that's in the local area. In the local area, we have matter of fact, let me those who are in the Pennsylvania and New Jersey area, hold on. We have, there I go. I should have had that waiting. I should have had that there. But we have investors boot camp. We're going to have some people that's in the real estate arena, real estate investment boot camp. We have some really good speakers. It's going to be there. Calvin Cannon Jr., Cash Flow Roadmap, person who is a guru and showing people how they could use real estate as investors. And then we have Joe Cerisi. He's also given credits for those real estate agents that need those annual credits. I know you need that in insurance and in the mortgage business and the real estate business. So if anyone that attend his the program that he's going to put on, they're going to find that, and they're focusing on an investment. So in real estate right now, people the purchases may have slowed down, but a lot of investors are now taking advantage of the opportunity, and they call this what they call an investors market. So that is May 27th, 9 a.m. at 12 p.m. So if you guys definitely want to reach out, please reach out at consult at bossmc.net, and we can send you the information. All right, thank you guys. Listen, go for it. Have a good Monday, and see you next week.